Okay, so this is a kind of a follow-up video to the first one, just to kind of illustrate what exactly is the goal for this first part. As I said, I'm going to give you some photographs, but also try to find some objects around the house that you can sort of just put in front of you. You're not worried about the lighting so much. Obviously, you just need to be able to just see the whole object without a lot of distracting light, and just draw that object. It can be really anything, nothing really complicated. Try to keep it rather simple. In other words, maybe we have some fruit that you can find, that you can draw. It can be a little jug or a jar, just something that is there and that you can hopefully draw. So what you're doing is, like I said, you're basically trying to look at these objects and you're drawing them, but you're drawing them without shading, without round lines, okay? So I'm just sort of putting these down to give you an illustration of, like, well, imagine these are your photographs or your reference material in front of you, and take this apple. So I'm gonna start by saying, okay, here's the top of that apple, and maybe here's the bottom of it. Here's the extreme left. Here's the extreme right. And so from here, I'm gonna try to sort of box in this shape in a very, very simplified way, okay? And so, by the way, all of these lines are available for change. You're not stuck with any of these lines. If I have to change something, whether move it a little bit this way or, down here, that's where this stuff happens. This is the stage for where all those changes happen, okay? So you want to try to think about this stage in a way that is, you want to be able to make the largest and all the changes that you absolutely need to make. And of course, the way the progress is going to move forward, I'm going to draw a graph, and this is our time with the drawing as we are going this way. Your first stage of the drawing, let's say it's here, right? And this is our second, and so forth, right? Now, the way your changes are going to start is they're going to start very large, and then they decrease, hopefully, as you go down to finishing the drawing. You don't want to make huge changes in this stage, and certainly you don't want to make any changes in here, but you will be making changes. It's just that you're making less and less and less of them, hopefully. This is illustrating that there's always proportional elements that you have to work out. But the largest part is in the first stage, right? This is where you move things in a dramatic way, in a large way, that is going to help you to place things in a place that is going to, you're not going to hopefully do that here. You're not going to do that, certainly not in the last stage, okay? And so this is where things are up for grabs, where you can, just start to think about, if there's a massive amounts of error somewhere, you have to be willing to make that correction, okay? A lot of times I see students where they'll continue the drawing even though they have errors that they know that they have to fix. And what happens is that a lot of times students will commit too much. In other words, they'll start the apple, they'll start drawing it, and then they'll immediately start putting in shading. They'll put in all this information, and then they realize, uh-oh, my apple is like way off. It's supposed to be, something different, and I don't want to correct it. I don't want to erase all this stuff. But because there's so much information that they've put down is why they won't make that change. And so our point in this is, our objective in this is to not have a lot of information, is to have actually a minimum amount of information and we're working with long straight lines, we're working with no value, we're working with completely line work, and we're going to try to get a simplified line drawing that we can move forward. And if we do have to make those corrections, that they are in that first stage, they're here. They're not going to be, you know, so much of a here. And so the drawing does get more complicated as you progress through these different stages. Okay, so but like I said, you want to try to make those changes in the beginning. You know, like I said, if I have to move this apple, you know, part of it on this side or that side and so forth, I'm going to do that all in this stage, right? So I'm going to keep things angular. This is not, the goal is not to finish a drawing. The goal is not to, you know, get a masterpiece over here. We're simply trying to practice something very particular. That is straight lines. Straight lines. We're basically simplifying things as much as we can. Simplify, I think that's spelled right, maybe not. So you want to try to keep things simple. You want absolutely no value or any kind of modeling or anything. You want to try to work out this exercise, you know, in here, like very, very deliberately. The other thing that you need to do is what I mentioned in the previous video, is that you don't want to work with heavy lines, right? Try to keep your lines very sensitive. This is going to be a big topic moving forward, but no heavy lines, okay? So here's my Vine charcoal, and here's how dark it can go on this paper, this newsprint. Well, here's the same charcoal, right, with me applying less pressure, right? I can go as dark as it can go, and I can be as gentle and as light as I can possibly make it happen, okay? So the tool doesn't determine the absolute, you know, quality of how dark or how light it goes. It's up to you and how sensitive you are with the tool, okay? So as you're drawing these things, try to keep your lines light, try to go gentle, try to be loose, try to be straight, and so forth. So that's really these first few goals, okay? And once we get into the other stages where you're modeling, you're putting in shading and things like that, it's going to go very fast, and we're not going to be dealing with a lot of these things. And so you have to really practice this and apply this in that beginning stage. It's going to be very, very crucial you do this, okay? So no heavy lines and absolutely no value or tone in this first stage, all right? So that's the goal. Like things like details like the stem, that's really not that important in that sense, right? I'm just trying to figure out how can I draw this object into this angular simplified drawing, okay? That's the goal. Work out the photographs and the objects that are in front of you and have some fun and be very deliberate about what you're practicing. And then we're going to take a look at these drawings on Thursday. We're going to look at these drawings, and I'll provide some feedback on these things, okay? So onward and upward. I hope you have a nice weekend, and I will chat with you guys soon. Bye-bye.